Tale of Genji by Lady Murasaki is the world's first novel written 1,000 years ago. It's also the most important work of Japanese literature. If you want to watch my summary analysis of Tale of Genji, I made a separate video. In this video, I'll tell you 10 unique things about this novel and tell you how Japan today is similar to Heian period in 10th century. At the end, I'll compare the Tale of Genji with Marcel Proust's novel In Search of Lost Time. 1. Love is disappointment. The love between Genji and Murasaki has a terrible start. Genji kidnaps her at a young age to educate and raise her as an ideal wife. But by the end of their lives, their love with each other is perhaps the closest to a real love in this novel. The rest is fleeting love, lust, transgressions, affairs, unfulfilled fancies. Murasaki over time falls in love with Genji and is deeply wounded every time he cheats on her. The saddest moment is when Genji is leaving for exile and Murasaki hides her tears from him and cries against a wall. The novel begins with a discussion about the ideal wife, which seems the premise of this novel. Heian men usually married for wealth or power, but Genji's pursuit was romantic. He pursued new women, hard-to-get women, or the women who showed no interest in him. Genji was always active in the dark, prowling like a nocturnal animal. One can say his passion was dark, yet not cynical, as he deeply cared about the women he loved. He was tactful, felt a sense of duty towards them. He only realized his true love for Murasaki after her death, which is too late. Ultimately, you can't get what you want in life. Romance is full of follies and frailties. That's the message of Tale of Genji. 2. Female perspective. People brand Genji as a playboy, a rapist, or despicable man. Murasaki doesn't pass such judgment. Genji appears a victim of his own circumstance, whim, and standing in society, but above all his look. He was the most beautiful man, so in a way nature had played him a card that he couldn't throw away. He does feel regret, pity, duty, and everything in between. A lot of Genji's women were trying to get a foothold in the court by social climbing. Genji is quite feminine compared to later samurais or European knights. He doesn't have a sword, he doesn't fight. He writes poems, wears perfumes, and is very polite. He's betrayed, he betrays. Emotions and small details are given plenty of attention in this novel. The way one walks or talks, or even one's handwriting reveal their motivations or social status in this novel. In a way, the Tale of Genji shows that small is often big. Ultimately, the novel shows how Genji failed to find love. 3. Gender relations. Genji's world is male-dominated, not unique to Japan at this time. So what is unique about the Tale of Genji is the attention it gives to the relationship between men and women. The private or domestic affair, without talking about politics, warfare, plagues, or some other social upheavals. Men, despite causing women a lot of misery, are not happy either. The physical distance between men and women, the shoji walls, the curtain rooms, heighten imagination that is far from reality. Genji often finds himself fall in love with a woman's voice or music, therefore imagines them to be beautiful. Once he gets close, he is disappointed. Men tend to follow their biological passion, but kept captive to their societal role as providers. Women, on the other hand, are captive to men's whims and needs. In a sense, Murasaki Shikibu is saying that neither is happy with the situation. Men cannot help chasing women, owning them, causing them misery, and are unable to be good. Women too use men to climb up in society or to try to escape men's advances, but ultimately succumb to their fate. A good example is Kaoru, the hero of the novel after Genji's death. Despite his best effort to keep his good character, he falls to his passion. Keeping himself good brings him suffering. Women's motivation is also material, social gain, but also romantic, and most importantly, to give birth to the next emperor. Also, women are more sensible and rational as a whole. Men give in to their biological instinct, bragging right, while women try to keep the social peace and harmony. Men's downfall are their romantic follies, and women's downfall are men's follies. 4. A postcard from Heian period. The Tale of Genji is like a small window into a dazzling world of 10th century Kyoto. The Heian period was peaceful that allowed men and women plenty of time to chase one another, compose poetry, write love letters, enjoy the change of season, watch the moon, perfect their handwriting and calligraphy. Poetry is prominent with 800 waka poems quoted in the novel. Waka poetry is a precursor to modern haiku. It's short, about 4 lines, a kind of reflection on one's own feelings or often idealizing certain beauties or certain expressions of one's inner thoughts. Koto instrument is also very prominent in the novel. The novel is full of description about gardens, flowers, the moon, perfume. The Kyoto of this novel is small yet closed off world, a sort of bubble where everyone knows the meaning of a poem that alludes to certain things. In a way, it's not inviting you in as a reader, but lets you watch as an observant and be prepared not to understand things. Suma, some 80 kilometers to the west of Kyoto, sounds like a different country as everyone is trying to get back to Kyoto. The Uji chapters are set in the south of Kyoto in a different world, more melodramatic and volatile. But the capital itself seems like a calm, insular world. A lot of people are trying to get close to the court, like people trying to know celebrities today. 5. Buddhism as escape. Despite its isolation, the people inside this bubble in Kyoto had piercing eyes and terrible mouths. To escape it all, Buddhism was a real window. If you wanted to get away from the political and romantic follies or bickering, you would retire in a remote temple to devote the rest of your life in the service of Buddha. Today, Kyoto has about 1600 temples dotted all over the city, mostly former villa of someone important donated after their death. Emperors too retired from politics and became Buddha's disciples towards the end of their lives. For women, becoming a nun was an escape from being pursued by men. So Buddhism provided freedom from society's entanglement. If you visit Kyoto today, you will notice that most of these 1600 temples are outside the town center, often in the forest or perched on mountain tops. Escape or retreat from the world. Well, now they are packed with tourists, but back in those days they were a place of peace and quiet. Withdrawing from society is a very unique in this novel because you don't see that in any other novels from any other cultures. But even after withdrawal, Yukifune, the last main female interest, is not free as she is pestered and judged by everyone. Genji's obsession with new women highlights the Buddhist idea of attachment to desire to be the main cause of human suffering. Genji dies heartbroken after the death of the one woman he loved the most. The novel affirms that life is nothing but an endless suffering. 6. Beauty and sadness. Tale of Genji is a sad novel with many unhappy women and men. Genji enjoys their affairs, but soon after he is overwhelmed with fear, anxiety, and sadness. The most tragic moment is the death of Murasaki, which also causes the death of Genji. Sadness is somewhat glorified as beautiful. Jolliness and raw happiness are not considered beautiful or worthy of literature. Van Gogh famously said that sadness lasts forever. It's true in the Tale of Genji. In fact, the novel leaves us hanging as we don't know what happens to Ukifune, the woman who escapes to become a nun. Good moments pass like a sakura flower petal that dances in the wind and then it tumbles down. 7. Realism. One of the most unique aspects of the Tale of Genji is its realism. It depicts the emotions of its characters in the same way a modern novel does. Therefore, it has the title of the first modern novel. Books of this period didn't write about reality. Instead, they were mostly about myths and legends or poetry. People lived reality, so they didn't want to read about it. It's a revolutionary novel in that sense. Another unique thing about this novel is that it's in prose. Poetry was literature, but prose seemed like keeping diaries or accounting. This novel is the first mirror of reality, and the novel is incomplete, which is a perfect metaphor as life goes on. 8. Life is a show. Genji's defining feature is his shining beauty and his incredible smell. He tries to maintain his appearance. His exile is self-imposed, not to face people he knows after the affair that scandalized the court. Keeping appearance is extremely important in this novel and in Heian period, and even today. 9. Japan today. We don't know the ordinary life of Heian period, but there are some similarities between the Genji's world and Japan today. In the Tale of Genji, Lady Murasaki says politics is not for women, but today politics is rarely discussed in public in Japan. Politics, religion, and salary remain completely private. 2. Gift giving is still practiced today. Twice a year, summer and winter, people send gifts. This seasonal gift giving is fading as more Western gift giving traditions are taking roots in Japan. 3. Silence is very prominent in the novel. A lot of meaningful silences, conversations that take place. In Japan today, silence is not awkward as it is in Western context, and it's appreciated. 4. Communication is very subtle in the novel, often through poetry that alludes to someone else rather than saying something directly. Today in Japan, direct communication about your feelings and thoughts are still somewhat rude or frowned upon. People use maybe a lot to tell their feelings or preferences. The unsaid is as important as what is said. 5. Ceremony is another thing very important in the novel and also today in Japan. 6. The most surprising thing the novel lacks is food. Today Japanese are obsessed with food. It's the most talked about topic in any conversation. 7. Perfume is prominent in the novel but has gone out of fashion in Japan today. In fact, very few people use perfume today, perhaps out of respect for others in public transport or at work. While Genji's smell can be felt from a mile away in the novel, I guess with the invention of shower, people no longer see the need for perfume. 8. In the Tale of Genji, people withdraw society by taking refuge in a temple. This withdrawal is not practiced today, but Japan has more one-bedroom apartments than any other country on earth, which is a solution. 9. Yasunori Kawabata, the Nobel Prize-winning Japanese author, considered the Tale of Genji the highest pinnacle of Japanese literature. His own style is similar to Lady Murasaki's. In his famous novel Snow Country, Shimamura, the protagonist, battles 4 different women at the same time: 2 geishas, a young girl, and his wife back home. 10. Marcel Proust. 10 similarities between Genji and In Search of Lost Time. The Tale of Genji and Marcel Proust's In Search of Lost Time, the most famous novel of the 20th century, have a few similarities. Here are 2 quotes, one from each. The first is a poem composed by Genji when he exiles himself to Suma, leaving his beloved Murasaki behind. Though change I wander far away, my soul shall still remain with you. Perhaps in this mirror's mystic ray, my face may linger still in view. The second quote is what Proust says about people who have viewed an object of art before has left something of themselves behind. Quote, "Some mystery-loving mind maintain that object retains something of the eyes that have looked at them, that we can see monuments and pictures only through an almost tangible veil woven over them through the centuries by the love and contemplation of so many admirers." End quote. In both cases, an object that you look at can hold something of you, which is interesting. Here I'll give you 10 similarities between the 2 novels. 1. Passage of time. Proust tries to capture time in search of lost time, the title suggests, and manages through involuntary memory. Murasaki just laments the passage of time and the sadness it evokes and sees that as beautiful. 2. Focus on inner conflict, not politics. So both are very psychological in essence as they deal with the internal human experience of love, life, and endless suffering. 3. Small is big. The subtlest of emotions are given importance in both novels. Flowers, smells, and all the feminine side of human experience are the most important in both novels. 4. World of snobs. Proust in Paris and Genji in Kyoto. Genji never talks to common people, only when he is exiled in Suma. Proust was obsessed with the aristocrats of Paris of late 19th century. 5. Love is a kind of ownership and how it's ultimately disappointing. 6. The gap between imagination and reality. How wonderful imagination and how disappointing reality is. Genji falls in love with a girl through her music, only to be disappointed when he gets to know her better. Marcel is obsessed with Lady Gourmand's, but when he finally meets her, she is so ordinary. The paradox of imagination and reality. 7. This is a loose connection. Claude Monet, the famous French artist, is a character in Proust's novel as Elster, who paints his impressionistic art. Monet was influenced by Japanese art, which had a massive spell over Proust. 8. Both novels appreciate art. In Genji, poetry, music, and plays. In Proust's novel, Marcel, the protagonist's dream of becoming a novelist, is fulfilled. For Proust, art gave life a true meaning that nothing else could. 9. Marcel and Genji both left their mother and spent their lives to find replacement through romance and ultimately fail. Marcel found art as his ultimate answer, and Genji found politics as somewhat answer but remained unfulfilled. 10. Suffering is prominent in both novels. Also withdrawal from society. As I said, many people withdraw from society in the Tale of Genji. In Search of Lost Time too, Marcel withdraws from his social life to write his novel. Despite writing the bulk of his novel during World War I, Proust failed to spend much on war. Murasaki says politics is not for her to discuss. So both novels kinda ignored social and political upheavals. So, Proust famously said that a true paradise is a paradise lost. This is very true in the Tale of Genji. Genji and later Kaoru both tried to find women to replace the women they had lost, but they never managed. Thank you.